Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Montekristo podcast. Today, I have a very special guest with us, and then we have Mr. Bryan Smith, a CEO and founder of Crafted Labs. It's a pleasure to have you, sir, and we are very thrilled to have a conversation about your history, your company, and then some new appealing trends. So, without further ado, the floor is yours. If you mind just introducing yourself, your company, and then we'll just go from there.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Alex. Happy to be here. Yeah. Thank you for the introduction. Bryan Smith, Crafted Labs. My co-founder and I decided to start Crafted Labs a year and a half ago as we saw a pretty radical change hit the market, and that
Hmm.
being AI. Everyone knows AI is here to stay. Um, Not everyone's ready to adopt it, and we really wanted to be early on that movement and really push the envelope of what software could do. So we started in January 2023. We've released our first product that spring, Ask Jack, AskJack.io, really trying to tackle that knowledge sharing problem that most companies have. And then we have a couple new products coming out this summer as well. So that's been our journey so far. And it's been a wild ride, as anyone in AI knows.
Okay, amazing. And then, do you mind sharing some of your experiences prior to starting Crafted Labs?
Yeah, so I've been in the industry, and when I say in the industry,
Hmm.
writing, shipping products since 1998. So
Hmm.
over 25 years now. So I've seen the industry shift pretty radically from
Yeah.
desktop applications to the first big web push, Web 2.0.
Hmm.
During the Web 2.0 era, I had my own software agency creating software for companies. Everyone had ideas just like now. So it's like it feels just the same. Everyone has new ideas. They want to do something. So it's a lot of fun. Some of the other things I did, I helped architect the world's first digital archives for like storing state documents. Everything moved digital. It's weird to say that now in 2025, but back in 2008, a lot of things were still done on paper.
Hmm.
And the question mark of like how you're going to store that was the big question. So I worked for the state of Washington in the U.S. for a while, and
Okay.
then prior to Crafted Labs, my longest run in my career, I worked for a cybersecurity company called Risklens. And so
Hmm.
for 10 years, I was the CTO and head of product, and we created it's called cyber risk quantification. And so if you look into and think about how you manage cybersecurity,
Hmm.
the traditional method has been, hey, we have bad things that could happen to us, and we're going to rate those red, yellow, green. But how do you, as an organization, debate whether which one's more important? You have limited resources, and at the
Yeah.
end of the day, you need to be able to report to your superiors you're doing good work. And the traditional method was we've got five reds, 20 yellows, and then like 100 greens. Like, okay,
Yeah.
which of the, like, if we get rid of some greens, how much of a reduced risk? How much is it going to cost to do? Does it really matter? So we are, one of the co-founders of the company, Jack Jones, created this concept called FAIR, Factor Analysis of Information Risk. And we helped people like large Fortune 100. At one point, we had like three of the Fortune 5 companies
Okay.
using our software to help quantify risk and understand, like in dollars, this risk, if it happened, would hit us for $25 million. And the
Yeah.
probability of that is 2%. Well, if we do this work, then it lowers to 1%.
Yeah.
Or it's worse. Something new happened because cybersecurity doesn't move or it doesn't sit still. It's
Yeah.
constantly changing. And so in a matter of seconds, that probability could go from 2% to 20%. So it was a wild ride. Absolutely loved it. And then in 2022, or actually 2023, excuse me, the
Hmm.
company sold to a company called Safe Security. And it was after that where I decided, I've had a long run. I don't know if I really want to do someone else's vision
Okay.
for another 10 years. I want to start my own company. So.
Okay. Amazing. And then, what was the kind of thought process when you first started? And then, you're new to the market, you're looking for your first client, you're looking for people to hire probably with your co-founder. So tell us a little bit, what is the thought process behind that, and how is it to start something brand new and then basically look for that first step to go from zero to one, if that makes sense?
Yeah, 0 to 1 can be really hard or really easy. It depends on it depends on the problem that you pick.
Yeah.
So there's this concept called market founder fit.
Hmm.
Is the founder a good fit for that market? Do they
Okay.
understand it? Are they passionate for it? Can they invest a lot of time in it? And it's really important. So, I mean, my co-founder and I set a vision. We didn't want to be a single product company. We like variety in life. So it was kind of first, how do we want to operate? And so that's why our full name is actually Crafted Labs Holdings Inc.
Okay.
So we built with a vision of being a holding company of software that we started from ground zero.
Hmm.
And then we started looking at like, okay, where are areas of the market that we have a passion for and we have experience for, so that we could go and figure out who actually has that problem. And then so we had a few different ideas of like, it'd be really great if we could help solve like this internal knowledge problem. As a product manager, I would spend tons of hours managing interviews and trying to figure out content. In cybersecurity, keeping up to date on like all the cybersecurity, what's happening. And so we had like a few different ideas. We're passionate for them. We knew the market. And so really then it was, what do we think we could get to the market fastest? Who do we think we could sell to? Is the market big enough? Like, is it a big enough problem for us to care about, or is it like a hobby problem? So it's great to go and create software, and everyone like on X, and I actually think this is great for solo founders. They spin up a SaaS and it gets to like 7,000, 10,000 of monthly revenue, and that's fantastic.
Yeah.
But then a lot of them plateau, and I didn't want to have something that plateaued at
Hmm.
7, 10K. I wanted to make sure it was a problem that enough people had. And then it's looking in the market. Where's your leverage? Where can you differentiate? And so we looked at a few problems, and Ask Jack was the one that we wanted to do first. That's the knowledge management one.
Yeah.
And mostly because we felt that was the one where we could also leverage and jump into AI the fastest and
Yeah.
start figuring out some things. So that was so I mean that's really the thing that to pay attention to is make sure that you've picked problems that you're passionate about, have background about, and the market can support a big enough thing, and then and that you can speak to, not that's the founder market fit. Like if I couldn't speak to it, like there's a lot of things I couldn't speak to, like software, like back office software for manufacturing companies. I don't know manufacturing. I have a workshop where I do woodworking, but there's no way I
Yeah.
could talk about all the different stuff that happens on the manufacturing floor. So I don't have a fit for that, nor am I all that
Yeah.
passionate about it. Cybersecurity, product management, internal knowledge sharing, those are problems I have passion for. Finance, there's a few other categories as well,
Got it.
but it's narrowing it down.
Got it. Got it. Okay. Awesome. And then how many employees do you have today working under you?
No, just the two of us.
Is
We
just the two of you?
AI is changing things, and we saw that really rapidly.
Hmm.
So immediately, I mean, again, this is a year and a half ago. We looked at things, and I was already using at the time GitHub's Copilot
Okay.
to help write code. It wasn't all that good, but I was like, problems I'm stuck on, I'm not stuck on as long.
Yeah.
And there's a thing in AI where you just always have to go. It's as bad. The worst AI will ever be is how it is right now. It'll always be
Exactly.
better.
Yeah.
It's always getting better. It's always changing. So it's
Yeah.
very obvious that like, how we code, how we market, how we manage operations is rapidly changing. So we've tried to stay lean. Uh, we do think we'll hire one person, maybe two people this year,
Hmm.
just as we scale out products. So there's still just operations to do, and you need someone to have their hands on things. But we've stayed very, very lean on purpose so far.
Okay. Amazing. And do you feel like that's something that really helped you? Because when you have, less, it's just the two of you, two co-founders, it's much easier to communicate and then, get things done faster. Do you feel like that was a
Yeah.
game changer for you?
Yeah, so every startup when they grow, when it's like one, two, 10 people, maybe even 20,
Yeah.
there's that romantic period where everything gets done so fast and it's so
Yeah.
easy because and then you get to 30, 40, 50 people, 100 people, and your scale is profoundly different. And what you can do is profoundly different. But everyone just goes, man, this is harder to get decisions done. Like we used to be able to spin up a new website in 2 weeks, and now it's a 5 month project. And
Yeah.
we used to be able to make these type of decisions a lot faster, and that's good. But it's different, and it's just fun to be small. You like making a decision is pinging my co-founder on Slack 2 days a week. We're in the office together at a co-sharing space, or just pinging him on Slack and just saying, "Hey, what do you think of this idea? It fits in our plan. You want to roll with it?" And we'll
Yeah,
talk about it for a few minutes, and then like later that afternoon, we've shipped it. You can't do that in when you're 100 people, so it's just a lot of fun. And that agility is that's the edge every startup has, is your ability to move fast and make changes on a whim. It comes from you're small, and then of course, like, you don't have 1,000 customers who are going to be really upset with you if you make a change on a whim. You've got, say, 100 customers, and they're all going to be delighted because they knew they're getting into something smaller quite often,
yeah.
for that different experience. So it's your advantage until being big is your advantage.
Got it. Got it. That makes sense. And then how do you feel like the experiences that you had prior of being a part of or running teams that were lean or big teams, big companies, small companies, all of those different experiences you had, how you feel like they shaped your understanding and vision about how a team should look like and how to build it from the ground up?
Yeah. So I was employee 5 at my last company, and
Hmm.
I'd worked for, like I said, worked for Washington State,
Yeah.
and saw a lot about how I did not want companies to operate.
Yeah.
I was a contractor years ago at Microsoft and was fascinated by how a company of like, at the time it was like 20,000 people,
Yeah.
with, and how it operates. And I was like, yeah, and it works by a bunch of small little companies in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But these last 10 years at Risklens, I was in charge of engineering and product and data science and cyber or infosec, and systems teams. So I had 5 different teams in 10 years to experiment and really kind of, hey, what's it take to build a world-class team? What's it take to move fast? And there's this balance that you have to really strike. So that opportunity to grow from like a team of, it was just 3 of us in the beginning, to 30, 40 people really helped me experiment and see that, there's you can over engineer your engineering team.
Yeah.
And the problem that in a lot of engineering teams, I've been discussing this with a few of my friends lately, is engineering teams can they can pivot to, this is going to sound really weird, wanting to build a architectural palace of crystal of like perfect code, no tech debt, and everything's
Yeah.
perfect. And they're not a lot of engineers aren't comfortable just saying, "Hey, this is good enough."
Yeah.
At the end of the day, unless you're in like open source, you're not building perfect software. You're
Exactly. Yeah.
building shippable, production ready, which means as bug free as possible, and a whole host of other things that like are quality mandates.
Yeah.
But and so it really did help me understand, there's a spot you're shooting for where you can still move fast. Software code quality matters. But at the end of the day, the business has to make money, and you make money by
Yes.
pleasing customers and making super happy customers. And that's
Yes.
why I'm really excited for like the AI movement going on right now in software engineering, with like with AI assisted code writing. Is, if you look at like where people land, you see people right now who are just incredibly productive, and then you see people who are not productive at all right now, when it comes to using AI, and because they're afraid to use AI because the skill set has rapidly changed. You're now overseeing someone else writing your code. You're more like a team lead
Yeah.
than the implementer. And so you see people shying away from using like code assistants because, like, oh, it can ship a bug. I guarantee you shipped bugs, many
Yeah.
bugs as a human. Um, but now can you like switch your perspective and say, hey, can I ship faster by overseeing AI?
Yeah.
And I think the people who are willing to adopt that new paradigm are going to do really well. AI doesn't work for every type of code. It works better for very clear, concisely described code that maybe it has seen some permutation of before. So if you're coming up with a new algorithm, maybe not as great there, but most
Yeah.
people, when they're creating an app, are not creating an LLM algorithm or a new search algorithm or something along those lines. They're implementing something that has inputs and outputs, and AI does fantastic at that.
Got it. Got it. That makes sense. And then tell us a little bit about who's your target audience and then who are the people that you want to have as clients.
Yeah, so so in the very beginning, so when we just decided, hey, let's make Crafted Labs, we asked ourselves this question: who do we want to
Mhm.
sell to? We said no to consumer apps. I didn't want to sell to, because you have to sell like a million copies,
Yeah.
and I don't have any background or experience observing how you do the consumer motion. So I knew I wanted B2B. I really was kind of targeting like mid-size, like companies who can make a decision really fast. They can accept a click through and just start using their software. And so our goal was to not have enterprise sales, but have business to business SaaS software selling to small businesses. Not small businesses, but small enough where they're able to just like, hey, I want to use this. I'm going to use it. Here's my credit card, and off you go. And we immediately realized, well, not immediately, a few months in, we realized AskJack is enterprise software. Most of our sales that are coming in require contract review and have longer sales cycles. Like right now, we're in a pilot for a large hospital system,
Okay.
and it's taking like, I don't know, what are we in? What, month four right
Hmm.
now of the from that first call, going through contracts and due diligence for security review, and looking and going back and forth on
Yeah.
the data agreement, and everything under the sun. And I said I specifically did not want that, and I found, hey, that's that's where we're at, because part of it is, your background, your network is where a lot of first customers are going to come in. And so I
Yeah.
spent 10 years in cybersecurity with enterprise
Yeah.
customers. The people, my initial network was all that. And so it's been kind of a wild ride because I wasn't expecting that, but thank goodness for AI tools because it makes it way easier.
Yeah. Yeah. That was going to be my next question. How important your network was for you to, start your own company and then have people to talk to, whether is it you want to find clients or whether is you want to, talk and about getting help and then having the understanding of who to go to when you need something.
Yeah, networks are very important. You can start from zero,
Yes.
and you just have to have the gift of gab, or actually not even the gift of gab. You got to be curious. You got to be curious about what other people are doing, and you don't even have to say it all that eloquently. I've like started some conversations really poorly, and they've turned
Yeah.
into fantastic friendships. And you're just like, okay, so thank goodness that person gave me a buy on that one.
Yeah.
But you can start off with zero, but networks ultimately are are the most important thing. And you, like, as a business owner, your job is to figure out how to build those networks. And then you have two levers: your personal relationships or bot networks, which you can buy by moving. Like, people have moved to San Francisco or Austin now for decades because there's such a dense network of entrepreneurs there.
Yes.
Um, or you can spend time on a social network, building a network. Like a lot of the people that I know, for some of the newer products we're looking into, are ones I've met in the last year or 2 years of chatting with them on platforms like X or LinkedIn, and just
Yeah.
being curious about their work, or responding and saying, "Hey, that was really cool what you did," and it just builds up. But you've got to have a network to get started. Very few people have the ability to start from zero. But if you're going to start from zero, like, I don't have a background in sales. I've have friends who are in sales.
Okay.
But now I'm CEO and I have to do sales. And so I just started cold DMing people
Hmm.
on LinkedIn, asking for advice. Like, hey, I'm a founding CEO. I have like very poor sales experience, or not poor, but lack of sales experience.
Yeah.
Can I get 15 minutes of your time
Yeah.
to ask you some questions? And man, I got like 40 respondents in no time flat, of
Yeah.
people who are like, yeah, I'll give you 15 minutes. You got to be clear, it's not a sales pitch, because
Yeah. Yeah.
people are skeptical and are like, hey, this is not sales. I'm just looking for advice. I first tapped a few people in my network who have a sales background, got their
Yeah.
opinions, their takes, and wanted to expand it from there. So you can start from scratch and you can rapidly get like a world class quality feedback, and start building that network. But you have to have one.
Okay. So basically, you're thinking that having the mindset of, closed mouths don't get fed is very important.
Yeah, I've not actually heard that phrase in this way, but absolutely. If you're not out there talking with people, you're not going to get
Yeah.
fed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And I
Got
think
it.
a lot of first time founders who come from a technology background,
Hmm.
this is where they really do poorly because if you think
Hmm.
about it, networking is a form of marketing. And marketing,
Yes.
if you don't have distribution, if you don't have people to put your software in front of or your service in front of, you're not going to make it anywhere. And I've seen like, I mean, it doesn't matter if you're in the software business, um, in a service business like professional services or like home services. If you don't have some sort of network and you're not out there willing to talk to people and expand it, you won't grow. You have to
Yes.
have distribution. You have to have reach. So yeah, so closed mouths. You're not going to feed yourself.
Got it. Got it. Makes sense. And then let's touch a little bit about, obviously we mentioned AI a lot of times, but you said you've been, in the business since the 90s, and then you've seen some, magnificent changes and then some shifts to, throughout the year. So do you feel like AI is the biggest shift that happened so far, the biggest change? And what are your thoughts on it? Are you a fan or are you against it? Give us a little bit about your thoughts.
Yeah, the shift is remarkable.
Hmm.
I think we are in the equivalent of the Industrial Revolution,
Okay.
like the early stages of it. So we're talking like a society shifting change, not
Yeah.
just a like iPhone. Well, I guess you could say iPhone shifted society because suddenly everyone's looking at like their screens. But I mean that's as much about the networks as anything else. But this is changing how people will work, not just the products we sell, but how people work. The Industrial Revolution massively pulled people from the countryside into cities to work in factories. It changed farming techniques from one farmer with a couple acres to one farmer and machine and hundreds of acres. Just everything about how we worked changed very rapidly, and that's what we're seeing right now. And you can be a naysayer and say, you know what, AI isn't going to ever be able to do X, Y, or Z. But if you have a human in the loop, AI will be able to augment that human. So at minimum, my belief is um, AI combined with a human for creativity will
Yeah.
10, 50x someone's creative ability because they can iterate faster than they've ever been able to dream of.
Yeah.
If you take AI into robotics, which we've already seen some massive changes in robotics, my wife was telling me, she was like, "I'd love to buy you an AI lawnmower." I was like, "I would
Okay.
love you to buy me an AI lawnmower as well." It's just everything. I mean, from vision AI to speech AI, the ability to it's just going to change everything. So I'm very bullish on it will have a very large impact. I
Mhm.
do have concerns about how that impact will play out
Yeah.
because as quick side view of like problems we need to face as a society with AI, that we already have, they're just going to get worse.
Yeah.
Is as a kid, I learned my work ethic because my dad told me to go mow the lawn. But if everyone has a robot to go mow your lawn,
Yeah.
well, where do I pick up that work ethic? But we already have that problem because you see kids in grocery stores on their
Yes.
iPads.
Yes.
So, that's why I'm still hopeful. I'm like, hey, we already as society have some of these problems. They just look different.
Yes.
But AI is it's changing how we work, and every company needs to face like, okay, how are we going to change this to an AI first workflow or an AI augmented workflow? But step one, and this is where most companies are really struggling, and this is why I've seen multiple stats. I just talked to a CEO who's a board member for 20 companies. Only one out of his 20 companies he's on board member on had a successful AI rollout last year.
Oh, wow.
5%. So this is why you're seeing like these AI companies with massive churn. But if you start inspecting and analyzing, most of these companies aren't ready for AI because they don't even know how they operate today.
Yes.
They're operating because they have great employees who are passionate, or at least will just heads down and do their work.
Yeah.
But they haven't documented the nuance. They don't actually know their workflows. I saw this in cybersecurity dramatically all the time, where like the heads of like CISOs for very large companies wouldn't know how their company makes money. So if you don't
Yeah.
know how your company makes money, how are you going to go identify where risky areas in your company are? And so if
Yeah.
you can't identify your own workflows, how you work, how you make money, what levers you can actually turn, you're not going to be able to apply AI to those workflows to augment them to excel. So I think a lot of workflow analysts, project managers, and people like that are going to do really well for a while to help kind of solidify this view and then introduce AI to companies. And so my take is within a year or two, this will become understood, and more companies will start shifting to, like, their sales motion to an educational sales motion. Hey, we're going to help you implement this. We're going to radically transform. Change management's going to be a requirement, and you're going to see that move from like 1 out of 20 companies to 5 out of 20 companies to 10, and then on. And not all of them will make it. And I think the companies who don't adopt AI dramatically won't be here in a couple of years, a few years maybe.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. And then when you talk about your goals for the future, for you and your company, how does that look like for the next couple of years? Obviously, you cannot predict it
Man.
to be so precise, but
Yeah, so our goals, like I said earlier, my co-founder Matt, who's been a fabulous co-founder, we early on we wanted a few different products. We wanted variety, but we also were trying to de-risk our future because
Mhm.
no one has a crystal ball. I mean,
Yes.
you can read the tea leaves on where things are going, and it's really hard to figure out, like, what are the capabilities of AI going to be and the implications of those. And so we spun up thinking, let's be a multi-product company to for both our curiosity, because we just love problem solving, we love different types of technology, but as well as to de-risk ourselves. So um our goal in like a 5-year window is to have a good portfolio, say maybe 5 to 10 really solid SaaS applications, um, and a company just big enough to operate with those. We work asynchronously as much as possible so that we force AI into our work. And so we'll see what scaling we need for that. I don't think we'll need 100 people to do that. I bet we probably can get away with 5 to 20 people to operate what would used to take 100.
Yeah.
Um, and but man, for all I know, with where AI is going, we might be like in a services company, or I might be fishing.
Okay.
So it's a wild ride. You just have to be very adaptable and nimble to the inputs to the system.
Okay. Okay. And then when you talk about growing your team to 5, 20 people or whatever it is, what is something that you are looking for when you want to hire people as a, as a founder of the company, as a CEO? What is something that you look for?
Yeah, I have a very solid answer for this. That you've got to have curiosity. You have to
Okay.
have like curiosity. You can't just be a single lane person who only
Okay.
cares about their one thing. I think that's more important in a smaller company that needs to be nimble. I think that's true for everybody. A lot of people keep their heads down and like, I
Mhm.
only want to work on this. I need you to be aware of more than just your single domain. I want you to focus there, but I want you to be
Yes.
T-shaped. I want you to be deep in one area, but broad in your understanding. You've got to have grit. I mean, life happens, and I want to recognize that. But some people, like you, when push comes to shove, and they've got to work till midnight because a system goes down, they crumble. I don't want people who crumble. Well written. You have to be able to communicate for a long time, and I'll still continue this. I'll probably change this to interviews like this. I don't ask coding questions for coders. I don't ask things like for data scientists. I want you to tell me a story because I need to verify
Oh, okay.
you and I can talk and communicate,
Yeah.
and so that you won't just sit on the information that you have. You'll communicate. You got to default to be well written and communicate. That's important for asynchronous. That's actually important for everywhere you're at. Um, and then you have to have critical thinking, and be able to really look at a problem and go, is that really what we see? And if you're I'm not 100% sure you can teach critical thinking, but I know you can teach frameworks like 5 whys. And like, hey, if you're uncertain by why things happen, be like, identify you're uncertain and then ask 5 whys. Like, why am I uncertain? Okay, what's the root cause of that? What's the root cause of that? And really dig into problems. Those are the traits I'm looking in for people. You got to be like, and then obviously underlying that is you're self motivated. If you've got grit, if you're curious, you can't not be self motivated because those will force you to move forward. And not everyone has that set of skills, but that's what we're always looking for.
Okay. Got it. So you feel like people being motivated and then being self-taught in a way, and then just being able to communicate is much more important than the amount of knowledge they have in the present moment. Because you can teach them
Yeah.
stuff.
You can teach them stuff left and right, and it's so easy to learn things now. Like
Yeah.
AI has made like education's radically going to change. There's like
Yes.
some really cool schools that have already started this. AI is their teachers, and these kids are like starting businesses at like
Yeah.
12, and not like the business I ran at 12 where I was mowing people's
Yes.
lawns. They have a product line that they're selling, and I'm like, what? This is insane. Like, you can teach
Yeah.
anyone any skills if they have the aptitude and passion for it. So you got to match that up. But I'm very much less interested in their current knowledge set and versus where they can go because of these other underlying characteristics.
Okay. And then do you feel like is it important for a company to build a brand and then for build like a culture?
Culture, yes. And I used to not be convinced that as much of a culture. But it's like in life, if you just accept like the status quo, you
Okay.
do get a culture. You just get a mishmash
Yeah.
culture. You've got to set the tone.
Yeah.
Like a guy who goes to the gym regularly, he sets the tone. He's in great shape.
Yes.
The same thing for a company is you've got to set the culture, the expectations around that. And I want to work with people I enjoy working with, who are friendly, happy, and highly motivated. Like at the
Yeah.
end of the day, I want you to default to like, hey, let's get this done. But I also
Yeah.
want you to not. I don't want imbalance, but you do have to set the culture and set that from the top. Otherwise, you get what you get, and you might not like it. And if you're not testing for that frequently and willing to make the cuts because the culture's not going where you want it to, where you think it needs to, then you're not going to be happy with the outcome. I've been
Got
there
it.
on that one, and I do not want to live through that again.
Okay. And then do you feel like it's important for the company to be different than others, meaning that, your brand kind of sets you apart of, you know, having a reputation that you care for your clients and then you are here to really solve the problem and bring value rather than, just sell a service and disappear. Do you feel like that's something that can differentiate you from the rest?
Oh, yeah, your brand. So I actually look at this in a couple different ways. So at Risk Funds, I wouldn't say we had like this really unique brand. Like some companies, just like the brand is like so out there, it's so different, it's really interesting, it pulls you in. So that can be a huge thing. Our brand at Risk Lens was more along the lines of like, look, you're going to adopt our software and we're going to be there every step. We have like the most knowledge around how to do this in the industry. So our
Yes.
brand was actually an asset of the company and a philosophy. So I think about this as like you can have a brand as in like you're the funny company that, yeah, you're creating serious software, but you're
Yeah.
funny, you're posting memes out there all the time, and that can actually do you really, really well.
You can, yeah.
But you can also augment with that of our brand is maybe a little dry, but when you talk to us, there's going to be so much knowledge coming through. We're adding so much value
Hmm.
beyond just like our product that you will never go wrong. I mean, that kind of was like the IBM play for a long times of like, if you have heard this phrase, it's kind of in the rear view mirror nowadays, but for years it was like you can't go wrong with IBM. And
Got
IBM
it.
is like this staid culture of everyone in suits, and I would hate working there, I think, today.
Yeah.
Good people there, but just like the big old school business culture.
Yeah.
But their brand for a long time worked because everyone knew that like you can't go wrong with IBM. Like
Yeah.
IBM will be there for you. But they weren't like the Nike just do it type of brand or the Intel inside where they had like little weird rabbits in clean suits.
Yeah.
Um so yeah.
Okay. Okay, got it. That makes sense. So basically, let's circle back a bit to your goals. So right now you're in a position of scaling. You want to attract more clients and then grow your team in the future. Obviously, you don't know how that's going to look depending on the AI and everything that's going to change in the future. But that's where you are now. You want to attract new clients. You want to,
Yep.
go into different industries maybe, and then, scale it to the best of your abilities, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's every founder's dream. Is I mean, some founder. Okay, I guess that's not every founder. Some people are happy. Like, give me a solo SaaS, one person, one
Hmm.
founder. I like working with people, and I like having a big impact. And so, I mean, if we could get this to where we're like in nine figures of ARR, that'd be fantastic to join the Unicorn Club. That's our goal. So you always set your goal really high and aspirational,
Mhm.
And my co-founder and I have like this philosophy of, there's exit ramps on the way to that high
Oh,
goal
okay.
that we'd be really happy if we hit those. But we're always shooting for, we want unicorn status.
Mhm.
But we personally know where like our happy level is far lower, but we're always shooting high.
Got it. And then when you create those type of plans, do you have a time frame in mind, or that's something that's not relevant for you?
I mean, I always have a time frame in mind. My As a product person who loves products and good product experiences, I always find myself a little frustrated because I feel like I'm living in the future of where I know the product can be. We'll just ship the best feature that I'm super proud of, and 2 days later, I'll be like, "Oh man, I wish I could do X, Y, and Z. Now that
Yeah.
I see this, I wish I could do that." And that's a lot of like with a business, it's the same. Of yes, we have our time frame, and some of that's in your control. A whole lot of it's not in your control. So you just have to be flexible and be willing to live in the moment and be like, "Hey, this is a great ride. I'm enjoying today, but let's push for these goals that we've set." So yeah, we have a timeline of what we want. We've already missed um, one of those milestones, but not upset about it.
Yeah.
And now that we have better informed data, because that's you're always collecting data, we understand like, hey, why did that one not happen, and where are we at, and how to adjust from there.
Got it. And then do you feel like it's very important to when you maybe miss those timelines or have a, loss, quote unquote, to get information out of it and then implement it and then, go forward with that information so you can win in the future.
Yeah, yeah. I was just having this conversation with someone. A lot of companies do kind of an annual strategic review, and they're like, okay, here we're going to do our SWOT analysis. Good. We're going to do all these different steps, and we're going to analyze where we want to go in the future, and we'll look back in the past. But what happens is, a lot of people then don't live by those learnings. They default back to the habits, and I think that's the key. Is when you have a missed milestone, you're like, okay, what happened? Why did it happen? Let's make sure we don't get back into that habit, because the default status quo, the stasis, is really easy to fall in and not even realize it. So you need to not be doing like your annual, but you need to be doing like weekly and monthly roll ups to analyze and go, okay, wait, and then write down like, we thought this, but it turned out this. We're now doing this, and then be evaluating that. And people are not generally good at that step. I know I've had struggles in the past, but I think that's really key for businesses that move fast and move well, is be doing that type of meta analysis frequently, and really writing down like the actual change and holding accountability for that.
Got it. Got it. I mean, honestly, I feel like that's a right way to cap this off. It's been a pleasure to have you and then go through different topics and different experiences with you. And then I really appreciate your viewpoints and then obviously the amount of experiences you have, which is unique, and then the way you kind of present things. It's very clear and interesting for people that are in business, but maybe even if they're not, your explanations are pretty thorough and understandable. So it was a pleasure to have you, sir, and then I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you, Alex. I love talking business always, anyhow. So this has been a great morning for me. Thank you.
Okay, amazing. Hopefully we can connect sometime in the future and then revisit some of the topics that we had today.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay.